Tonight, we're talking about how one of the most inspired genre mashups of the 1990s somehow spiraled into a direct-to-video cautionary tale, and how Hollywood managed to squeeze not one, but two lifeless husks out of a movie that was clearly designed to stand alone. This is the From Dusk Till Dawn trilogy. What's up, freaks? Welcome to The Laughing Dead, your prime destination for blood-sucking immortals. I'm your host, Ethan, and tonight we're dusting off a 1990s gem I've loved since I was but a wee lad no taller than a dewdrop. So whether you're a master of horror lore or a lowly apprentice just learning the ropes, get comfortable because we're diving right in. The original From Dusk Till Dawn was released in 1996, and while most people associate it with Quentin Tarantino, that's not quite the whole story. Yeah, Tarantino adapted the screenplay, but the concept actually came from special effects legend Robert Kurtzman, the movie magician behind the effects in such legendary films as From Beyond, Evil Dead 2, and many, many more. Then you hand the director's chair to Robert Rodriguez, and suddenly you've assembled the horror equivalent of the A-Team.
We're in a plane!
Don't panic.
A plane!
Take it easy.
No
Relax,
plane!
relax,
A plane!
relax, relax.
Plane!
What they created shouldn't work on paper. A grimy crime thriller that detonates halfway through into full-blown grindhouse vampire chaos. And somehow, it works perfectly. The film follows brothers Seth and Richie Gecko, a pair of violent scumbags on the run after a bloody bank robbery, racing for the Mexican border. Seth is cold, controlled, and pragmatic. And Richie, well, he's a bit of a problem. What follows is a tense and uncomfortable road trip full of hostage dynamics, moral contrast, and the creeping sense that something is deeply wrong with Richie. And when he offs the hostage, the pair are forced to find another border crossing plan. Enter the Fuller family. They have the shit luck of sharing a motel with the Gecko boys, and when Seth notices their sweet RV, Plan B kicks in and the family's kidnapped to be used to shield their crossing. They make it across the border and arrive at their rendezvous point, the Titty Twister. They're a little bit early, but I'm sure they can find a way to bide their time till morning.
White, black, Spanish, yellow.
At this point, the movie's played things relatively straight. It's dirty, stylish, but it's been grounded. And then, without warning, it pulls the rug out from under you. This is the moment that permanently altered my developing brain chemistry. Salma Hayek takes the stage as Santanico Pandemonium, performing that now iconic snake dance. And just like that, one small step for Salma, one giant leap for my future expectations. And I'm sure I was not alone. While the audience is distracted, the movie springs its trap. Richie gets turned into a Capri Sun, the bar reveals its true nature, and suddenly everyone's in a fight for their lives. The genre flips on a dime, and instead of collapsing under the shift, the movie only thrives. What follows is one of the most satisfying last stand sequences in 90s horror. A preparation montage of improvised weapons, shifting alliances, and a final battle that feels earned because the movie took its time getting there. This is why the original works. It breaks rules with confidence. It commits fully, and it ends before the idea wears out. Which makes what happens next a little less baffling. Texas Blood Money hit video store shelves in 1998. Yeah, you heard that right. The direct-to-video sequel had a measly $5 million budget and was phoned in by all involved. The director's cap was tossed on Scott Spiegel, who did a great job helping Raimi write Evil Dead 2, but positively shit the bed when he penned this watered-down, degraded reproduction of the first film. They almost had me going in the intro when I see the absolute legend Bruce Campbell grace the screen, but I guess they could only afford him for the afternoon because they kill him off immediately, and if I remember correctly, the whole scene is unrelated to the story, just a shameless cameo so they could throw his name in the credits. And while they couldn't afford Bruce, they did manage to land Tuco from Breaking Bad. So there's that. The movie follows a group of bank robbers, just like the first one, who are headed to Mexico, just like the first one. But this time, stay with me now, they're not running from a bank robbery, they're running to a bank robbery. Holy shit, they really reinvented the wheel on this one. Mind fucking blown. So yeah, for some reason they have their sights set on a bank vault south of the border. And when they meet up, we're introduced to a cast of clowns completely devoid of any redeeming qualities. Seriously though, who sits and casually watches motel porn in a room full of dudes? Psychopaths, that's who. But in all seriousness, the characters are hollow stereotypes lacking any depth. Don't get me wrong, I'm aware many horror flicks aren't big on character development, but when you compare this movie to its predecessor, Texas Blood Money feels like they drew character ideas from a hat, knowing damn well they made no real impact on the story. The crew break into the bank, and one by one they're bitten. The transformations are basically instant, draining any suspense from the storyline, and we're left wondering what the heck vampires would even do with all that money.
I suppose vampires need money just like anybody else.
In the end, they fail to match the bravado of the final battle, and despite murdering every cop in Mexico, the ending of this movie still falls flat. Look, even the sunrise is phoned in. That's a solar eclipse, Scott. Get it together, man. Texas Blood Money is a hot mess. Unfortunately, in this lineup, it cowers in the shadow of the original. But hey, it can look at the bright side. At least it has some company. The final movie of the trilogy, The Hangman's Daughter, came out nuts to butt behind Texas Blood Money in early '99. Also direct-to-video, of course. It's positioned as an origin story, which is at least partially true. We don't get the whole story back to the Aztecs, which I found pretty disappointing, but we do get the story behind Salma's character Santanico Pandemonium.
I never thought you would come back to her mother.
Besides that juicy bit of lore that no one asked for, and a switch up to a Western period aesthetic, it's once again the same rinse and repeat we saw with number 2. Only now it's the 3rd generation, so the degradation hits its max. Just look at the 3 different versions of Danny Trejo throughout the series. That shit's just embarrassing. The effects are worse, the kills are worse, and the bats are straight up cheesy. And while the movie's not impossible to sit through, that's about the nicest thing to say about it. Final thoughts. The From Dusk Till Dawn trilogy follows a similar arc to many great horror films. The first one rules, and the sequels end up afterthoughts. And that leaves a glaring question in my mind of why the hell does this happen?
Why, God?
Well, the answer is simple, folks. Greed. Judging from the drastic drop in budget and the hasty release schedule, it becomes clear that the studio execs saw an opportunity to cash in on the success of the first film. They struck while the iron was hot, counting on name recognition to move units, effectively squeezing every penny of profit out of the IP, with little risk of taking a loss. And if that sounds bad, well, that's because it is. But in an era nowadays where studios are willing to take that loss in an effort to brainwash the masses, I almost miss the good old days of greed.
Money, money, money.
If you had a good time, or worse, learned something tonight, drop a comment. It really helps the video. Be sure to like and subscribe. And remember, if you laugh when others scream, you've found your home. This has been The Laughing Dead. Thanks for stopping by.